This homeschool life can be hard, not because you're doing it wrong, but because it asks a lot. If you've been caught in the spiral of trying to perfect your routine, create the ideal rhythm, or force a system to fix your overwhelm, you've probably already noticed that it doesn't last. The real issue isn't that you can't follow through, that you don't have the right routine. The real issue is much deeper. And today we're going to talk about all of that. Welcome to the Homeschool Mama Self-Care Podcast, a space where overwhelmed homeschool moms come to reclaim their voice, rediscover their spark, and lead their kids and their lives, fully aligned from the inside out. I'm Teresa Wiedrich, graduated homeschool mom turned certified life coach, here to guide you in showing up whole, grounded, and fully you, even in the thick of homeschool life. You didn't start homeschooling to lose yourself, and you don't have to sacrifice who you are to be a good enough homeschool mom. Here we talk real stuff, the overwhelm, the guilt, the breakthroughs, and how to nurture yourself while you're nurturing your kids. I'm so glad you're here. I'm delighted to share a conversation I had with Amanda Schenkenberger, a second-generation homeschool mom to 4 beautiful boys. Her story of overwhelm brings so much encouragement to homeschool moms, and most importantly, helps them feel truly seen. Amanda is the author of the book titled Overwhelmed. As the host of her podcast, Coffee and Calm with Amanda, she creates space for moms to breathe, laugh, and find real encouragement in the midst of the daily chaos of homeschool life. She supports homeschool moms who feel like everything is their responsibility, who struggle with time management, and who are teetering on the edge of burnout, helping them design a dreamy homeschool day and create simple steps to make it their reality. Welcome to the podcast, Amanda.
Hello and welcome to Coffee and Calm with Amanda. Real talk for homeschool moms who crave coffee, peace, and permission to break the rules. I'm your host, Amanda Schenkenberger, second-generation homeschooler, mom to 4 boys, and author of the book Overwhelmed. And this show is all about creating space for you to breathe deep, laugh a little, and find real encouragement for your homeschool journey. Today, I have a guest I know you are going to love. Her name is Teresa Wiedrich. She is a certified life coach for homeschool moms, and she's all about helping overwhelmed homeschool moms lead with confidence, clarity, and presence, so it feels aligned inside and out. She carries wisdom with every word, and I know what she's going to share with us today is going to help many of you moms navigate your experience as a homeschool mom. Would you please tell us a little bit more about yourself, Teresa?
It's lovely to meet everybody and always lovely to spend time with you, Amanda. I love hearing your story, and it was wild when we first connected. I think it was 2020 or something. And our stories are resonant because this is a common conversation for many moms. I don't feel good enough. I'm not sure I'm doing this right enough. I don't feel comfortable doing things out of the box. So, for my story, I homeschooled 4 kids over almost 2 decades. So, my youngest is almost 17 now, about to launch. I'm about to go on a college tour with him. The wildest thing ever moving into that phase of life where your youngest is going to grow up, apparently. But I can remember certain moments in my journey that felt overwhelming. Everything from the first year where I felt like I was never going to get sleep again to one moment I share in my homeschool journey is about the 3rd or 4th year, and I'll share a little bit more about that. I point to that conversation because it's so resonant for a lot of people, but I've had many moments of overwhelm, including, as you were sharing, moving into the high school years and wondering if I could really re-up and commit to doing something on that level. And then I would say even into the 20-something years where it feels like a whole different game. It feels more like a coaching client, but with somebody that I deeply care about, that I birthed, and I want the best for in their lives. Everything they do matters. And I also have to learn how to allow them just to be. So I've got these stories across the spectrum, but the one in my 3rd to 4th year is what I call my hitting the wall moment, where I think it was slump month. I don't know what it's like in Oregon, but it's just gray. Yeah. And so in northern BC, we were traveling, and I'm with my 4 kids in a new place, new home. I remember feeling gray, and I had a coffee mug on my bedside table. There was coffee rings on the base. It was cool. It was sloshed all over. And yet I was waking up to hear the kids already up making something in the kitchen and probably helping each other, but I could hear fighting. And I'm like, oh, okay, here's how the day's starting. I didn't get up before the kids. This maybe I was premenstrual, maybe I'd had an argument with my husband, maybe it was just February, but it just felt yuck. And I remember just feeling agitated as I walked into the kitchen and I see the kids fighting over the spatula and there's pancake drops all over the floor and the counter. And I remember getting really just, okay, enough. Okay, everybody just go and I'll clean this up. I'll get the pancakes. I didn't notice that they were taking care of each other and doing things for each other. I was just agitated. So I remember finally getting myself together and saying, okay, this is good. This is not a bad thing. And then moving to morning read aloud. And we're all finding a place to sit. And two of the kids are playing happily with Legos, and two of the kids are fighting over the seat beside me. And I am just like, okay, that's enough. I didn't have the bandwidth in here to deal with these really tiny moments. And I remember leaving the room because I thought someone was getting too heated, and it was me. So I walked out of the room and to go into my bedroom and find a way to calm down. At the time, I didn't know what emotional regulation was. And
It wasn't a thing
it
then.
wasn't a thing. It wasn't even a thing. Self-care wasn't even a conversation. So then I moved into the bedroom. I tried calling my husband who wasn't available. Then I called my friend and she said, hey, have you heard this Brené Brown TEDx talk or this YouTube video? It's going viral from yesterday. And I don't know who this is. And I watch it. And all I remember thinking at the time was, I so resonate with her. I have no idea what my needs are or why I even am frustrated or what I want in life, nothing. And that was a moment, like a really big moment for me to begin to understand or uncover what was really going on in here. And so I would say that was a really pivotal moment for me.
I love Brene Brown. I think so. If there's a mom listening and she's, I don't know who Brene Brown is, would you enlighten us?
As I understood, she was a woman with these big black shoes and a jean jacket and a cute blonde coif. And she was talking about shame and vulnerability and things that were very uncomfortable in my mental lexicon at the time. But she talks about the myths of imperfection, really living a wholehearted life. And not coincidentally, this is for the next 3 months what I'm going to be studying in our Confident Homeschool Mom Collective. We've already done guideposts 1 to 3. Partly because I think she's such a good lightning rod for getting clear on who you are, what you care about, what really matters, but also coming to terms with our shame stories that
Mhm.
often fuel the reason that we don't feel good enough or the reason that we want everything to be perfect. And that our real challenge is not about homeschooling at all. It's about this shame story.
Yeah, and that's really good. And so interesting. When I share the hard things that have gone through with homeschooling, I it wasn't even until probably through the process of writing the book realizing, oh, these patterns, they weren't brought on by homeschooling.
Mm.
They were simply revealed at a deeper level through homeschooling. And if I'm seeing them with such clarity now, this is my opportunity to heal them.
Yeah.
And there is just something realizing that I see it so often in moms that they're like, okay, I'm not 100% on board with this homeschooling thing. I'm really uncomfortable. We're fighting all the time, or so these kids are fighting all the time. He's not listening. And I just want to put them back in school. And for moms who are in that space, all of this stuff that's coming up for you, we want to get away from these uncomfortable feelings, like talking about our shames, like stories that bring shame, like that's uncomfortable. Nobody
Yeah.
does. Let's talk about my most embarrassing, hardest moment of my life.
Yeah. Yeah, and I really am sharing one, and I'm trying to burst the bubble of, listen, I'm actually sitting with these women hearing their stories, And everyone feels alone in this, and yet you are alone if you are not experiencing this ever.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, you're some kind of robot?
Yeah, I don't know how you did it. You
That's
really are unusual.
Yes, and I think that's key in moms knowing, like, this inner narrative that we usually keep very close to our hearts. We might share with a friend, we might not, or we because it takes a lot of courage that when we're in the thick of being overwhelmed and, man, I keep snapping at my kids, like, I don't want this person to think, like, I'm a bad mom. I already think I'm a bad mom. I don't need their confirmation of it, and
Yeah.
maybe, just maybe, we get brave enough to share a piece of it and we're homeschool moms. Somebody runs in the room, "Hey, mom, I need this." And so it's not easily facilitated, period, like, period, but exponentially so if we are only seeing our other mom friends it with our kids around because it's
Mm.
easy to be interrupted and it's so hard to be brave. And it makes sense why we feel alone in this because also it's just
Mhm.
not
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah, we're all busy. That's the other thing, is that there's so much going on when kids are in your space that you're like, "Oh, no, I'll just keep pushing through. I can do this. I can do this." And it's true, you can. There were seasons, definitely, I did do that. And then every moment where you decide to sign up for personal growth or you decide to tackle this thing that has been an issue for a long time, it's hard. It's not pleasant. It's not pretty, but it's your first step to releasing whatever that thing is.
I
Coffee.
think Oh, go ahead. Yes, coffee. Oh, are you drinking coffee? I thought you were a tea
No.
drinker. No.
I mean,
Oh,
in the afternoon,
okay.
perimenopause. It's required. Yeah.
Well, oh, I heard recently, not to get too off topic, I heard recently perimenopause referred to as cougar puberty.
Oh, amen. No BS in the room. No, or no BS season because we
Yeah.
call it. Yes, absolutely.
I
Yes,
love it.
but I won't drink coffee after lunch because then I won't sleep.
Yeah, we don't want okay. Pivoting back, I really do think when it's let's talk about this for a minute because you and I are very much in the same space. And I
Mhm.
think you and I probably see the very same reasons why moms don't step into the opportunity of self growth. And one of the big ones, I feel like it's too two-sided. Ones I don't feel worthy of investing in, and even if I did, I'm afraid it won't work for me.
Mm, yeah. It won't if you think it won't. This I've
Mm,
seen that when people are really leery about something and going, I'm looking for the reasons why it won't. I
mm,
think it's valuable if, like, I know the first experience that I had going into therapy, and I remember thinking, ooh, to do therapy means I failed or I have something to feel shameful about or I need to hide. And actually, though that was the feeling I had, as though everybody else has everything figured out and has no challenging stories and has no reason to go to therapy or coaching. I felt that way, but it wasn't true. And then when I moved toward the space in my life of accepting that actually this personal growth thing or acknowledging that everything isn't easy or I have real challenges in certain areas, that was unlocking the door. But if you're not willing to unlock the door, then you just do you. You do whatever you want to do. And I'm guessing you're not here right now. You're not actually listening this far into this conversation.
and that's like, as long as you're willing and resourceful, like, you're good as a homeschool mom. Sure, we're gonna screw up, and we're gonna screw up big
Mhm.
sometimes, but as long as we're willing and resourceful, you've got the makings of an amazing homeschool mom.
Absolutely.
And
Yes.
so yeah, what would you say to a mom who is open to the conversation, who would want to grow, but has that fear of, "It's not gonna work for me because 'cause I'm broken," or, "I won't do it well," or something like a story about herself?
Yeah. I actually wouldn't say something as much as I would be asking more questions, digging deeper as to why. What's the reason you think that? And I
Mm,
would keep going to the deeper, deeper, deeper. And there was one mom that I'm working with. So, a third conversation that we had, she said, "Oh, now I see why you don't care about curriculum, that this conversation or our conversations are never about curriculum. It's about this, what's really going on in here." And I'm like, yeah, exactly. You could do any curriculum. I will tell you, and I'll just give a teaser. I won't even say what it is. But I have noticed that there is a certain method that elicits more conversations with moms in general, that when they are more structured or more tightly structured, they tend to be more likely to have conversation with me because they are overwhelmed and because they are just trying to get all the check boxes and it's not working. But it isn't about curriculum, and it is always about whatever's going on in here. So to me, I wouldn't actually say something specific. I would just keep asking questions until we got to the root of why not? Why can't you go in this direction of growth?
Yeah.
Don't you think you can do it?
Yeah. I think that's really good. And I think being able to offer that, just even that clarity to somebody is huge. And hopefully at some point, not completely removing the obstacles, because sometimes we have to climb over these things. And we're like, I have to do it scared. What would you say, as far as overwhelm? You said Brene Brown helped you a lot. Just her process. If you could recommend one of her books to somebody, which one would it be?
So many get me pinned down on this one. But I would say probably because I'm focusing on it right now, the gifts of imperfection.
Okay.
Right there. Yeah.
And what about that book do you think meets a homeschool mom's heart where it needs to be met?
It compels her toward wholehearted living or wholehearted existing. And ultimately is addressing that shame story that we were speaking to before, discussing worthiness and wondering why don't you feel worthy? Yeah. There's so much to unpack in that. It very much depends on where you're at in the homeschool journey. I'm more likely to have conversations with moms that have been 3 years plus in the homeschool journey. But when I work with homeschool moms that are just entering or they're yet to decide whether they're homeschooling, the conversations around imposter syndrome and whether or not they really can be this role or they really can embody what they need to make sure that what they offer their kids is enough. And that conversation still, I think, is rooted in this worth issue.
Yeah, and there's a lot of she doesn't know what she doesn't know also, and
Yeah.
there's an educational piece, which is, oh, look, I also understand why we're asking these questions, and but I agree. It's like the moms, like, hit year 2 or 3, and they're like, I can't live this way. I can't, like, I'm committed to homeschooling, but I can't go on this way. I gotta do something differently, but I don't know what
Right.
it is.
Then it's time. That's the point. Then yes, do something about it.
Yeah, I
Because
love it.
just imagine, like, what is the long-term ramification if you're not doing anything? What
And
is
you
it
oh,
what
go
is
ahead.
most afraid of? What is the thing that you're like, "Ooh, at the end of my homeschool days, here is the worst case scenario," or "What's the worst case scenario for my child for their sense of direction after homeschooling?"
Yeah.
And when you look at that, then you say, "Okay, then maybe you need to work backwards and say, okay, what am I gonna do about it?"
Exactly,
Mm.
exactly. I know I always tell moms that I'm working with when we get stuck in the weeds, right? But I need to choose the right curriculum or I've got to get this homeschool flow down. I'm like, okay, whoa. Yes.
Yeah.
And what do you want your kids to say at the end of their homeschool journey? And for somebody who had a homeschool journey that started out wonderful, but ended in a pit, like it was not a good ending. And I struggle personally. I'm like, how much do I share? I also want to honor my parents, but it
Mhm.
was bad. For somebody who had a poor ending to what started as an amazing homeschool journey, I can look back now as an adult. Maybe I wouldn't have said the same thing when I was in the midst of it. I probably wouldn't have even had an opinion. I was so like, had so many emotions. Teenage girl, right? My point is, when I look back and I thought back on my own homeschooling experience, I remembered the moments of connection. I remembered my dad teaching me how to read. I
Mm.
remember horseback riding with my mom. I remember crying through math every single time. And that's okay. I still am not friendly with math, but I do it because it's part of being an adult. And I'm able to sit and be like, if what I remember were these special moments of connection, that's the legacy I want to leave for my kids. Some of it was learning, like my dad teaching me how to read, and some
Mhm.
of it was play, going on horseback rides with my family. And so that is is the legacy I know I want to leave. And when I work back and I think about that big picture, when I'm in the middle of arguing over like getting math done, cheers over math in my house for
Mm,
me. I know, I'm like, you know what? We can drop this
mhm.
because what I want to leave is this legacy of connection. And connection doesn't mean avoiding uncomfortable situations, but it does mean
Yeah.
I value where you're at in this moment. And you matter more than getting the curriculum done. And that's what I want to leave my kids. And so I feel like for that question, I have that perspective being homeschooled. But as long as you figure out what your vision word is for homeschooling,
Mhm.
you can do that same reverse process. And that, having coached hundreds of moms at this point, that is a game changer. When you
Yeah.
know where you want to go, that redirects you like a lighthouse in the middle of a
Yeah. Yeah, that connection piece, that is not an overrated conversation. You hear everybody speaking to it, and in your soul, like, of all the things you want for your kids, it's not to figure out how to multiply fractions or calculus or something. Although 2 of my kids love it and were trying to convince me in the last couple of weeks that, "Mom, it's really not that hard. It's very much like a different way of framing math. You just have to know all the basics first." I'm like, "For so many reasons, this is probably not happening in my lifestyle or my life." But I think it's amusing that I birth children that think that way. When I look at those specific moments of real frustration, because I remember having certain ones with kids too, that pushing, which is or was my compelling at a certain point, that I was doing it because I was afraid that I wasn't going to get something accomplished for them, or there would be a gap, or they would be behind, or what would happen if they couldn't get into college because they didn't have whatever. And now that I've got the hindsight, I can see what also happens if a kid, I've watched this with a few kids, including me, if you include me as the kid, when you didn't have a certain level of math or chemistry, I'll just use myself as an example. I didn't before I went into my Bachelor of Science in Nursing. And they said, "We have really enjoyed having a conversation with you. We see you're motivated to move into this phase of your life and the reasons you're motivated for that. So we want to open a space for you. We need you to either choose grade 12 chemistry or math for your first year of sciences and somehow accomplish that within your first year of 4 years." And I said, "Okay." But I was willing, and I did really well because I was motivated. So I think there's a lot of fear around various topics. Math is often one, but different conversation points where actually your child can accomplish something later in the future. And so it isn't just K to 12 or until they're 18 that you have a timeline to fix everything and figure things.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's so good because sometimes I think a lot and this it can happen a lot in the younger years, or we're gonna miss something foundational, and
Mm.
then later on, they're gonna be, for the lack of a better word, screwed.
Yep.
And that's not the case. And I know that because that's my life experience.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
a lot through the unschooling method that my parents didn't do. Some of it I do regret. I'm like, oh, I wish they would have focused more on this. And I make sure to cover those with my own kids because I know what it's like to go out and get that skill hard won.
Right.
Yes, I wrote a book, but I could not write a paragraph when I entered school. So, yes, I did this, but it was hard. And I want it to be easier for my kids and do certain things a certain way. But just because they don't learn it when they're young doesn't mean they can't learn it when they're older. And again, with the motivation, I wanted to write a book. So I figured
Exactly.
it out.
Well done, Amanda, by the way. That I know what that is like, and that is not an easy task. So well done. Yeah, really, that's quite remarkable. So how long did it take you to write the first draft?
That actually was, I think it might have been 3 months.
Yeah, that was me too, 3 months. And then the second and third draft were like 7 months, 1 year, 2 years. They're like, "Okay."
Gosh.
Yeah. Mhm.
That
Lots of
the
editing.
editing,
Yeah.
not my favorite. I'm not like a super intent, look at all the details person. It's
Yeah.
emotionally and mentally exhausting.
Yes, it really is. Yeah, 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 I actually like words now, but I'm with you, Amanda. When I was in K to 12, I had 0 interest. I actually had a conversation with Julie Bogart in the last 2 weeks about this that is also discussing this conversation point, that when I was in high school, I had zero interest in writing. And yet, as soon as I went home, I was writing. So you can really clamp down on a kid's motivation if
Yeah.
you're forcing them into a topic that you just don't care about. And though I appreciate Shakespeare now, I did not understand why I was analyzing the three witches sitting around the cauldron in Macbeth doing their little chants. I was like, I don't care. I don't want to do this. And then it turns out my grade 11 teacher had to go on leave, and there was a sub that came in that didn't know how to engage it. So then I didn't care, but yet I went home and I wrote. Go figure.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's also a really, we could go off on a tangent about tapping in to that intrinsic motivation. Because
Yeah.
in school, I remember, I'll tell one quick story and then we can wrap it up because I know we could talk all day.
We should do this again.
And
Yeah.
I remember in high school, so again, I'm not a strong writer. And I remember freshman year, I sat down with my English teacher and he said, "So, what do you think about your essay?" And I was like, "I think it's really corny." Yeah. So he was wonderful at helping build my confidence. And then I went into a sophomore high school, sophomore English, and we got a little bit of freedom about what
Mhm.
we got to write about. And
Yeah.
I was so elated. Our teacher, she put up some ideas on the board, or you can pick your own topic, but I have to approve it. And I was absolutely in love with my Spanish class. Oh my gosh, eating it up, culture, all these things. And I went, "Mrs. Asher, can I write about Mexican Catholicism?" And she, "Is that different from regular Catholicism?" I said, "Oh, yes." And then just cite your sources. I don't remember what I wrote in that essay, but I remember going to the library and opening these old books and smelling these old books and like learning citation. And I loved writing
Mm.
this because it tapped in to what I was excited about.
Mm.
It made a huge difference. I don't know what grade I got, but I just remember that experience. And
Oh, I love that. Hopefully your parents gave you a trip to Mexico to do some deep research.
please go to Mexico, surely.
Did
We'll
you?
live it
A little bit.
for a missions trip. But yeah, oh man, that just lit me up
Mm.
as a young writer. And so I 100% agree about the intrinsic motivation. Again, we could continue this conversation for a long time, but if moms are really enjoying what you're sharing, your approach with weaving in Brene Brown into homeschooling, where can moms learn more about you?
Well, you're welcome to sign up for a free homeschool or aligned homeschool reset conversation, which you can find on my website that I started way back in my early homeschool days. And I called it exactly, I'll give you the name. The name reflects what I really hoped for my homeschool, for my life at the time. It is Capturing the Charmed Life. And I learned that you can indeed turn your challenges into charms, but there is no perfectly charmed homeschool life either.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'll link that in the show notes so moms can go get that. And if they wanted to follow you anywhere, where was the best place for them to go and find you?
I wish I could say join me for coffee in my local small town. That would be my ideal. But I'm on Instagram and Facebook. Instagram, Homeschool Life Coach. Probably that's the easiest place. Just DM me, say hi, because I am on the other side here, a real person that really will engage you like a real homeschool mom.
Yeah. Yeah. Teresa's great. She loves her community. I am so honored to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Okay, what a great conversation. I want you to take a deep breath with me. If homeschool overwhelm has been weighing on you, notice that this conversation with Amanda wasn't focused on incorporating a perfect routine. It was about being honest with yourself, seeing your needs, and stepping into a life that works for you, your energy, your needs, you. Here's how to continue the conversation and care for yourself. You can connect with Amanda. Her podcast is Coffee and Calm with Amanda. She offers a newsletter. Her YouTube channel is at Confident Homeschool Mom, and also offers a homeschool routine builder. And because you can hear that she has been there, survived that homeschool overwhelm, you can guarantee she's here to support you. Check in with yourself. Is homeschooling really about following a perfect routine? Is that what you're really chasing? As Amanda and I discussed, we need to be honest with ourselves, showing up authentically in our lives, and building a homeschool life that reflects the real needs, the real energy levels, the real personalities and connections of everyone in our homes. If this episode spoke to you, would you share it with another homeschool mom who might resonate with it too? The one other thing you can do is take the overwhelm quiz. You'll learn what's really driving your homeschool overwhelm. This 5-minute self-check-in will help you identify the hidden roots of your stress so you can discover what part of your homeschool mom life needs nourishing. If you're feeling overwhelmed, know that you're not failing. You are enough, but you're also a human. And humans need to address their needs. You get to show up with honesty for yourself to get clear on what really matters in your life. I know you can overcome this overwhelm because I've done it, Amanda's done it, and you will do it too. You got this, girlfriend.